at Jeff Moody MD on Facebook. Come to my my world famous, at least maybe neighborhood famous website. Sign up for our email list. Get on YouTube and come hook up with us there. We're on LinkedIn. We're like a bad rash, essentially. You can't get rid of us. We're everywhere people want to be. I am so thrilled and excited to have with me one of my buddies and a great colleague and a great urologist, Dr. John M. Corman, MD, who is currently in Seattle. He is the director of the Cancer Center at Virginia Mason Medical Center, would you call it? Virginia Mason
Would.
System.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has been named top doc in Seattle multiple times. He's a great guy, and today we're going to on Burnout Breakthroughs. We're going to talk about the real questions I had for John is how does a big hospital system, a big private hospital system, like identify burnout, deal with it? Have you been burned out? Ready, set, go.
Okay. Hi, Jeff. So that easy. So it's a complicated question. So Virginia Mason, I think, is a modest-sized institution, multiple locations throughout the greater Seattle area and central Washington. And I think in terms of how we manage burnout, it starts by recognizing its existence and its importance and its impact on our team. I think the big part of that is its impact on our residents and our fellows. So we have an officer, a physician who's responsible for our physician wellness program. And we have, Joyce Lambert's her name. She's an endocrinologist. She's terrific. She was previously a senior executive at the hospital, and as she's transferred from that role into back to her clinical role, she's kept this in her bag of expertise. We have grand rounds on physician burnout regularly, led by multiple different members of the team. We have assessments from our GME program of resident burnout, fellow burnout. We talk about it a lot. We have developed internal tools with some varying degrees of success. We've used some, I think, more traditional tools. We use surveys regularly. By regularly, I mean twice a year. Asking burnout-related questions to try to get a thermometer of the level within our medical staff. Everything seems to have taken a bit of a backseat to COVID at the moment, but that's where we are. That's where we are.
That sounds great. Do you feel like, or I guess I've been talking to other people about this obviously over the last several months, and I have heard other hospital systems will kind of leverage technology to a certain extent to help maybe assess for burnout. One of the systems I was talking to someone, they look at EMR usage and time of day. And I don't know if that's something that you guys have looked at, but I thought that was a great, you see this big peak during the day, and then it kind of bottoms out around 5, and then you see it kind of start to creep back up again. And I think what they did was they identified some of those users, and they're like, hey, how can we help you finish your work during the day?
Yep. So we've done exactly that. And it's interesting. So we use Cerner as our EMR, and it was this wonderful celebration within the medical center when Cerner became remote. You can get it on your iPhone. You can get it on your home laptop. And isn't it great while you're watching your kids play soccer, you can be on Cerner, and it's all convenient. And it's an extension of work, and that was viewed, I think, initially as a real positive thing. And then as we've evolved, we realized that rather than looking at which surgeons or which physicians are accessing it offline and as a success metric of the system, it's actually kind of the opposite. Just as you point out, it's folks who aren't getting their work done in regular work hours, and it's the question of what can we do to make the system work better for you, so you're not having to crash in on the EMR at 10 o'clock at night after you put the kids to bed.
Yeah, these so-called pajama time, so to speak.
Pajama time, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it starts, I think, as an informed decision. You say, listen, I want to be home at 5:30, or I want to be home at 6, and I'll leave some work to do once once dinner is done, and that starts as an informed decision. But then it becomes so habitual that you can't get out of it.
Right.
It becomes an expectation.
do you find that have you tried, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, have you tried like multiple different avenues? Have you tried like physician extenders, or maybe looking at different metrics for productivity? Or I guess what have you found has been useful or not useful, I guess, as far as systemic responses to burnout?
Yeah, so I think we've dabbled in many of the things that like institutions have done. So we've dabbled in scribes. We have extensive physician extender networks. We've looked at fill rates. We've looked at the fill intervals. So what interval do you need to see a patient that lets you see the patient, diagnose the patient, and document the patient, and that's the end of the clinic visit.
Yeah.
I think that we're trying to get away from the concept of it's 15 minutes to see a patient and the 8 minutes of documentation. That's your time. You figure that one out.
Yeah, that happens at 5 o'clock. Starts at 5 o'clock.
Right. So it's for me personally in my practice, if you're in a 15-minute slot, that includes everything. That's from soup to nuts. And if you use 18 minutes, that means the patient number 2 is going to help pay for the extra 3 minutes. He's going to get, or she's going to get 12 as opposed to 15. Because at the end of the day, if you're seeing like you are, a crazy busy physician, you're seeing 25, 30 patients a day, and you add up 3 minutes for each of those folks, or 5 minutes for each of those folks, you're up till late at night and you've lost all quality.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like you and our co-chief resident Steve Lerman and one of my other work colleagues from UCLA, Chris Eigel, I think the three of you had always maintained one of the best work-life balances I ever saw, both as residents, I think, and as active practicing physicians. But even doing that, even with your bicycling trips around Europe and other things, when you took your time off, which I think was terrific, do you feel like you ever got to the point where you were burned out, or were you constantly kind of metering your time and your response to it?
So yeah, it's a great question. I think it'd be naive to think that any of us aren't ever burned out on whatever the activity. Our work is just too intense and too critical not to feel burnt out at some point. But I don't feel like I've ever really felt like I am burnt out and I need time away from this to recover from it. But I think it's foolish for us to say if you are afforded 3 weeks vacation a year or 4 weeks vacation a year,
it'll be perfect.
Use your time. If you're afforded, fortunately, my institution gives us a sabbatical every 3.5 years. It would be foolish not to take that. They're giving that to you in an effort to prevent that kind of burnout. And I think you're very generous, but I would look to you the same way and say that you've always had such insight into people that impress me as somebody who can manage that burnout sense. And I know in reading the book, it's great insight. I try to fill my life with things that daily can give me a relief, and in general that seems to tide me through until I can take the next earned time away.
And one of the things I think a lot about burnout is it's almost like addiction. It's like a recovery process. It's not like a cure. You're not going to take a pill and then you're magically better, for the next 6 months or next year, whatever. Get your 6-month depot, burnout shot.
Right.
It's a constant. It's a daily battle to a certain extent. It's a daily practice, I guess, as well. Yeah.
And I think you gave a lot of great hints in your book of the things that you can do. It's like one of our mentors, Mark Litwin, used to say is it's like sodium; it can be measured. So there's nothing different about burnout. I think that you can say to yourself, if you make the time to say daily, "Am I feeling burnt out? What's my level today? And what is the strategy?" I've been following you online. What are the strategies that you would employ if that level of burnout reaches a point where it's impacting you? And I think it takes some discipline to be able to say, where am I today versus where was I yesterday? And am I at a point that I have to take a half step back to preserve myself for tomorrow?
And just that, like you said, that level of awareness, like the first step in the 12-step program is realizing you have a problem, So,
Totally.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that one of the things I'm most happy about, I'm not happy that we have burnout at all or that it's affecting so many physicians, but at least the conversation like this is occurring, and at least there's some awareness. And I think, again, once there's awareness, then you can start to attack it. I think we're probably, I'd say, in the first or second inning, really, as far as effective responses to burnout. Just because I think a lot of the systemic issues with institutions and hospital systems and the government, those are very slow to change. So I think we have some ways to go. I know you were a Pfizer scholar and interacted a lot on the governmental level. Do you feel like this was something that was ever addressed then, or that was too long ago where it wasn't really an issue, I guess, when you were doing those things?
No, I think this is you have to believe this has existed for a while, but I think that there are, meaning for generations, but there's some things that that lend itself to the immediacy of it. So we all thought electronic medical records were so critical in providing improved care and improved communication, but it's really just an extension of our day. That reach out and touch me anytime, all day long, all night long. There's an expectation that I will deliver, and you do, we do. I don't know that we could have predicted that when we were in training. So too, we would not have predicted new technologies with robotics, perhaps, when we trained 25 years ago. But yet we picked that up. We're really good at picking up technology. Speaking for myself, I think I'm probably less good in realizing the downsides of some of these pieces on lifestyle and on how it impacts you. So EMR specifically, the ability to people can rate you online as if you were a pizza. You've got too much cheese, your crust isn't thick enough.
I didn't like the carpet in your office.
Exactly, and all those things play into it. It's very in your face, very immediate, and I don't think those are healthy things from a standpoint of burnout.
Do you feel that Virginia Mason or other places you've worked at or seen, do you feel like there's a budget and a priority? Clearly there is at Virginia Mason. Do you feel like that becomes, and I know you've been higher up in the administration with Virginia Mason, working with the outpatient clinics and things. Is that something that is budgeted for? Do you feel like there's a budget for that, or is it just part of like general operations?
So physician wellness is an office. There is a phone number which is staffed and with a provider that is in charge of it who draws a salary. And there are budgets within our Grand Rounds program. There are budgets within GME, and pieces of that are all pulled. I guess if you're asking me, does the institution recognize physician burnout and say
I lost your audio?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? No.
Yeah. No audio.
1 second here. Why? Can you hear? No.
Oh, yeah. That's better. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even do it. I'm just sitting here.
That's how much you love technology.
So what I was saying was that there's an office, there's a physician in charge of it who draws salary, in charge of physician wellness, including burnout. It's part of our GME budget. It's part of our Grand Rounds budget. But I don't know that you could actually go back and say my institution has decided to dedicate X number of dollars. I think it does better than most, recognizing it and dedicating resource, but it's really on the backs of physician effort more than it is, here's $500,000 to protect your staff.
Yeah. Or because I always kind of wonder, like, if you start to just strictly look at it from an economic standpoint, like, hey, like if I have to leave because I'm burned out, it'll cost you $500,000 to $1 million to replace me. Like, you want to throw a scribe or two or a PA or two my way and help get the work done. Yes, the profit margin will be less, but the overall benefit to the system is still high.
So I think we're smart on that line, but we don't attribute it right. So we'll say every time you lose a surgeon, that's $2 million of your bottom line just to recruit a replacement and build up a practice back again to where it was. So we recognize that, and we talk about that a fair amount in leadership meetings. We don't go back to say what's the root of we ask the question, why did the person leave? but we don't really attribute it to burnout, and therefore we're going to invest to prevent burnout. So it's a little bit more nebulous than that. I think that's the level of maturity that we haven't hit yet.
And some of that's data analysis, some of it's just experience and probably trial and error, trying things like, let's give these 10 surgeons a PA and a scribe, and and they last 5 years, and let's give these guys nothing, and do a non-blinded controlled study.
Well, and it's interesting because we do it for the wrong reasons. We spend a lot of time thinking about who do we give a scribe to, or who do we give a PA to, and you ultimately say you give it to the busiest person, and they get super busy. The people who are really just not ready to have more throughput probably aren't benefiting from those folks.
Oh.
But you're doing it from a standpoint
I lost you again. Lost the audio again. Sorry.
Why? I don't understand why. You got it back again? No?
Not yet.
Let me try something different.
Okay, wait, you're back. You're back. Maybe it's like the when you lean forward or something.
Okay, I'll try to stay perfectly still. So my point is that we attribute it to productivity, not to burnout prevention, which is, I think, the wrong way to look at
it. And again, there may come a day where it's like it becomes when you're spending X amount of time or doing X amount of RVUs, or then you need this help or this level, and I think every institution, every physician is probably different. So that's why it gets a little difficult to tease that out.
Yeah.
Well, very good. What's next for John Mayer Corman?
Oh, well, there's a lot of stuff happening here now. So, you're talking professionally or personally?
Oh, no, yeah, professionally. Like, what's are you writing a book? Are you're bicycling around Europe again?
I would love to. So I am. So the big professional thing at the moment is we are in integration talks with another large institution in the Northwest.
Wow.
And so it's interesting work, and it's occupying a lot of time and energy, and with some interesting opportunities for Virginia Mason. And so that's taking up a lot of time at work. And from a burnout standpoint, it's how do you fit all that additional piece in when the other duties don't go away.
Yes, you're like, in addition to being a regular practicing doctor, can you please also head up this, merger committee? So.
Yeah, so it's but it's good stuff, and I think that's part of the way that I avoid burnout is there's got to be something new every day. So if there's not something interesting and new, and if you're doing the same as it ever was every day, I think that's a recipe for burnout.
And I was going to say, like, every day is a school day. I feel like I learn something new every day. So
yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you very much. I realize that we got you in your car, so thanks for the stoppage of your commutes to do this.
Not at all.
I appreciate it. JeffMoody.com. Find The Doctors Burned Out on Tuesday. It comes out Tuesday. Doctors Burned Out, Physician's Guide to Recovery. Retweet this to your friends. Put it in your Facebook feeds. Just come to Jeff Moody. Sign up for the email list. Bottom line for me always, and I'm sure bottom line for John as well, get the help you need. Raise your hand. If it's with us, great. If it's your system or your employer, great. If you have to make your own help, do that. But get the help you need, because remember, at the end of the day, burnout recovery is for you.